Hello, first grade. Mr. Hunter here. I am ready for history. I hope you guys are too. You can get out a piece of paper and a pencil. Mostly you're going to be following along, but just in case you need it, you want to write something down that you like, or you see something in the pictures that we're going to talk about, or you hear something that you want to draw, or just remember to take notes on, you're perfectly fine. But the main thing you need to do is be ready, be focused, have your book page on 98, and we're going to go through 98 and 99. We are talking about Australia. Before we dive in, has anybody noticed that we've been talking about a few different places? We've been talking about continents and the countries that are on the continent. What's a country that we've talked about already? We went to Africa, right, which is a continent, but we talked about Kenya and Egypt. Those are in Africa. And then earlier this week, after that, we talked about Israel. What's another one that starts with I? India. And then we talked about China, and all of those countries are in where? They're in Asia, right? Now, I have a question real quick. Which of those countries between India, China, and Israel did Jesus live in? Israel. That's right. That's right. Okay, Israel. Now, China is really important too. It's one of the largest countries in the world. It's actually bigger than the United States. What's also really cool about China is they have over 1 billion people. Remember, we said India has 1 billion people and China has 1.5 billion people. That's amazing. So a lot of people over there. And then we also visited the countries, those countries, Israel, India, and China. They were all in Asia. Okay. Now, the Pacific Ocean. It is the largest ocean in the world. And we have the pleasure of living right next to it here in California. So that's why I have it circled there. But did you know, and I'm going to read this from the book so you don't think I'm making this up. The Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean and it touches the United States on one side and it touches China and Japan on the other side. Now, if you're looking in your book right now, it's not going to be in your book. I'm reading from my teacher book with all the notes. So you're just listening to me right now, looking at the beautiful board back here. But isn't that amazing? The Pacific Ocean is so big, it touches California and it touches China and Japan at the same time. Isn't God amazing that he designed that? That is absolutely incredible. All right. Now, there are some countries that are beneath the equator. That's what we call the southern hemisphere. Right now, the United States, California, we live in the northern hemisphere. So the equator is the middle. It divides the middle. It divides the entire world and the entire earth at half. So we are above the equator in the northern hemisphere. But some countries are beneath the hemisphere. And guess what? South America is a country that's divided. Africa is a country that's divided. And today we're going to talk about Australia. Australia is actually entirely underneath of the equator. That's why the nickname for Australia is, I have it up here. It's called the land down under. Okay. The land down under. All right. So all you need to do is turn to your book to page 98. And I'm going to be on that page right now. So you ready? All right. Let's dive in. At first, at the top of the page, we're going to look at our vocabulary. The first word we see is continent. We know that word. Everybody say continent. Okay. Next, you're going to say platypuses. Platypuses. That's a type of animal if you don't know what it is. So say platypuses, platypuses. So platypuses are types of animal. We're going to talk about that. And then say kangaroos. You guys know kangaroos, right? And then this last one is a tricky word, but it says koala. Everybody say koala. All right. So we see all the different syllables they have in each word. Now, keep your thinking caps on and let's go in. All right. Australia is almost as big as the United States. So it's China is bigger. There's some other countries bigger, but Australia isn't quite big, but it's almost. Sometimes it is called the land down under. It is an island continent. So Australia is a continent that's in the middle of the water. It's an island. It stands by itself. United States, we're connected. In North America, we're connected to different countries. We're connected to Mexico. We're connected to another continent, South America. But guess what? We are not an island. Australia, an island. They're not connected to anybody. Some of the countries that we have visited have been small with many people living in them. But Australia is just the opposite. It is a big country with not that many people. So some continents and some countries, they have huge, huge amounts of people, right? And they don't have enough room. But Australia is the opposite. They have so much room, but they don't have that many people living there. All right, so I want you guys to listen to this. There are different seasons in Australia. All right. There's a part that's called the bottom side of the world. All right. the bottom side of the world. It's the opposite of the United States. What that means is that right now we are about to go into the spring. It's April. We're going to go into May. Then we're going to go into June, and then we'll get into our summertime. But right now, when it's getting warmer here in the United States, it's getting colder in Australia. So whenever we're hot, they're cold. And whenever we're cold, they're warm. So they just finished having their summertime. So it's the opposite. It's called the bottom side of the world, and it's the opposite of us. Winter in the US, summer in Australia. And guess what? Australia, they have Christmas in the middle of our summer. Isn't that crazy? Really crazy. All right. Most of the Australian cities, if you see their country, it's an island. Most of their cities are near the water. So that's pretty cool. Most of them live near the ocean. Why do you think that? They need the water for the food and for the irrigation and to live. Now, also, what else? Their homes, they're like ours. So they put a lot of their homes on the water. And if you have a lot of water and you're an island as a continent, what do you think most people like to do? Well, they like to go to the beach. They like to have fun. They like to play in the water. So most of their favorite sports are water sports. There's a lot of people that are swimmers in Australia. There's a lot of surfing. There's a lot of skin diving. And if you don't know what skin diving is, it's okay. I'm going to put a video in here underneath so you see exactly what it is. And then there's also things that they do with sailing. So they take the boats and they sail. All right. There is what we call a sheep station. Everybody say sheep station. We know what sheeps look like, right? They have a lot of wool. They're white when they're clean, and when they're dirty, they're still white, but they have dirty brown wool. We use that to make our clothes and cotton, right? There is a sheep farm, oh, excuse me, I should say a sheep ranch that has over 1,000 sheep on it. And guess what? There's a lot of those different types of ranches on Australia. Miles and miles and miles from the coast, they keep the sheep in the middle of the country because they don't want them to be too close. They have fences. They keep other animals from attacking them. All right. Now let's look about this. The people who work on the ranch, they are called jackaroos. Everybody say jackaroos. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to spell it sideways for you. Jack, just like you're spelling the name Jack. And you're going to say and then roos. So I'm writing sideways, upside down, but you can see that there. Jackaroos. Those are the people that take care of the sheep, and they're called ranch workers, but their real name is jackaroos. All right. The wool that they sell from these sheep is sold all over the world. So they don't just sell it in Australia. They don't just sell it in Asia or Africa. They sell it all the way over here in North America, in the United States. They sell it in South America. They sell it in Brazil. They even sell it in Canada. So everywhere in the world, we get a lot of our wool from Australia. The wool is used to make blankets, sweaters, shirts, jackets, and mittens. Now, for those of you living here in California, you may not have to wear jackets and mittens, but guess what? Mr. Hunter, growing up, I had to wear hats, big coats, mittens, all those things to stay warm because it got really cold at nighttime and in the wintertime in Washington, D.C. All right. Now, the people who work on these farms, they still have families. They still have a lot of kids, and they're away from all the civilization. So if they have kids, guess what? There's a special thing that their kids have to do. Just like you and I right now, we're talking online. Their kids are called School of the Air. They have to go to school online or on video all the time. So right now, you and I, we're doing this. This is new to us. But in Australia, the kids that live on the farms, they do it all the time. So it's nothing new to them. All right. Now, I have a couple questions for you after reading that first page. What continent is Australia located on? I'll say it again. What continent is Australia located on? I see some of you scratching. You may have blurted out an answer already, but I'm going to tell you something. Mr. Hunter just tried to trick you because Australia is not located on any continent. Australia is a continent. Remember that. Australia is a continent. A country is smaller than a continent. So you have a continent, then a country. Okay? Now, I have another question. What are some of the things that can be made from wool? Okay, you're naming some things: sweaters, shirts, mittens, hats. I have a question for you as well. Are you wearing any of those things right now? Maybe not a hat or mittens because it's too warm for that, but maybe you have on a sweater or a shirt or something that's made by cotton. Why don't you check the tag after the video? Don't take off your shirt to look right now. All right. And the last but not least, what very large ocean touches the island of Australia? I'll give you a hint. We said it earlier in the video. It's the largest ocean in the world. The Pacific Ocean. All right, you guys are too smart. All right, let's go to the next page. Australia has many interesting animals like platypuses, kangaroos, and koala bears. And the animals, they're so different. I'm going to read a couple to you. You can look at the pictures while I'm telling you this, but there are some different animals in Australia. All right, everybody say emus. E-R-E. Mr. Hunter just made a big mistake. All right. I said a word and I'm reading too fast. The word is called emus. All right. Everybody say emu. All right. An emu is a big bird. It's a big bird. Everybody say big bird. Oh, that wasn't big enough. You got to say big bird. And you got to do your hands like this. Big bird, a big bird. All right. I have to show you a picture of it or a video. An emu looks a lot like an ostrich. Okay. They run fast, but they can't fly. But that's why they run fast, so they can get away from predators. A dingo, everybody say a dingo. A dingo is a wild dog. So if you were to see it, you would say, oh, that looks like a dog, but it's not a normal dog. It's a wild dog. And they're wild for a reason. All right. So we'll show you some of the videos of that. The platypus, as you see down at the bottom there in the picture, it has a fur tail like a beaver, has a bill and webbed feet like a duck. So where do you think it gets its food? In the water, because it can't get its food from in the ground or the dirt. It doesn't have the feet to actually dig deep in there. All right. And then let's talk about a kangaroo. Everybody say kangaroo. We know about those, right? Or a joey. A joey is a baby kangaroo, right? It lives in its mother's pouch for a long time when it grows and it's born. And then it grows to up to be 6 to 7 feet tall. So Mr. Hunter, I stand 6 feet tall, 6 feet 0 inches. A kangaroo can actually be as tall as me. That's kind of scary. It could almost be taller than me. All right. A kangaroo can hop up to 40 miles an hour. I had to pause right there because I'm trying to think of a kangaroo running 40 miles an hour. Isn't that crazy? That's absurd. They can run faster than me and you. All right. A koala. Everybody say koala. They're furry. They eat leaves of eucalyptus trees and they're the size of a nickel when born. So I'm going to show you guys something. This is a quarter. A koala is even smaller, all right? So when they're born, they live in their mother's pouch and they're smaller than a nickel. Now, there's a few things we're gonna try out here because there's some words that they say in Australia that we don't say here in America, all right? So I'm gonna say this word and you repeat it. The word is lollies. Everybody say lollies. All right. In case you're wondering. Lollies, Lollies, all right? My marker's dying out, so I'm just gonna say the words. Lollies are what you say for hard candy. Everybody say hard candy or lollies. The next word is bumpers. Everybody say bumpers. Those are what we call barrettes if you put them in your hair. And you say bloke. If you say a bloke, a bloke. A bloke is what you call a man, all right? Sand shoes. Everybody say sand shoes. Sand shoes are what you actually call sneakers. Who is wearing some sand shoes right now? Or sneakers, all right? The next one is a Barbie. A Barbie. And for you girls out there, a Barbie is not the toy that you play with. The Barbie that they're talking about is what we call a barbecue. So when they say, I'm going to a Barbie, you know what it is? They're going to a barbecue. All right, the next one, mate. Everybody say mate. A mate is what you call a friend. So Sam and Jeremiah, you two are mates. Eliana and Dylan, you guys are mates. All right. A mate can be a boy, a girl. It doesn't matter, but they are mates and the mate is a friend. All right. And the last one is tea. Now, tea is what we drink when we have lunch, we have something in the morning, you have a sore throat, you want to drink some tea. But when they say tea, they mean it's a light evening meal. So it's a light meal that they eat in the evening time. Are those weird? Are those words kind of different? Right? It's so unique. All right. So the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you a couple of more questions. I want to see what you remembered here because the goal is to remember what you're learning and not just say it. All right. So what birds cannot fly, but they can run really, really fast? I'll give you a hint. It's also a word that Mr. Hunter pronounced wrong earlier. Emus. All right. Emus. They're just like ostriches. They can't run, they can't fly, but they can run really fast. All right. Why is a platypus such a strange animal? Just look at the picture there. He has fur, a bill, and webbed feet like a duck, and a tail like a beaver. It's like 3 or 4 different animals in one. All right, What do Australians call the evening meal? Tea. They call their meal tea, so that's different. And then, what is a Barbie? It's not a toy. It's barbecue. All right. So pretty much we have studied all these different places. We studied Asia, Australia, Africa, different countries inside of them. We looked at the ocean. All right. Now, there's also another country that's similar to Australia when it comes to their light meal. It's called England. The English settlers, they actually went to Australia years ago, right? And that explains why English is spoken in Australia today. So even though it's a different country, some other countries, they speak different languages. In Australia, they speak English, but they have an accent, all right? And that's maybe where they get the tea from. But the tea is actually when they're eating a light meal. Okay, I'm gonna have some videos for you guys I know you're gonna enjoy. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you have any questions, want to rewind it, rewind the video, watch it over, and check out the videos in the link below. All right, see you later.